Is it on? Is the mic on? Test, test 1 2. Huncho, Zay. It's Sunday morning. Let me stop. Look. I've been thinking about them diamonds, but I don't need. Can't speak my mind. I tell myself that cause they gon' leave. Oh man, don't feel. I love to.
Alrighty. So thank you all. This is Shawn Blount Jr., associate broker and a real estate investor and entrepreneur with Century 21 Ackman Realty. I want to bring a special episode today. I thought this one would be very important to have on the platform for a multitude of reasons, and you'll be able to understand exactly what I mean today. But the topic we are going to be touching on is protecting your property. And we're going to be discussing the insurance playbook for homeowners. So before I introduce this guest here, I wanted to say that when I first met him, I just felt like we really just grasped each other pretty quick, and I could tell that this individual is not only sharp but has a bright future and is doing amazing things in the insurance field. And I'm excited to have him on the platform. So without further ado, I want to introduce to the platform Mr. Domonique Hill.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for taking the time out. We had a little bit of technical difficulties at first, but where there's a will, there's a way. So I want to thank you for coming on to Major Leaders. Major Leaders is where we essentially like to have in-depth conversations with people who are just making big moves, big changes in their respective fields. And I thought that you fit the criteria. So I'm excited to have you and excited to bring this information to the people. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I want to start with just tell the people about you, exactly who you are, what it is that you do, who you work for, and yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Domonique Hill. I work for Goosehead Insurance. I'm an insurance broker over at the Torture Agency in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Currently, I'm licensed for Virginia, North Carolina. Um, I write homeowners, auto, boat, RV, and life insurance policies. Um, with over 68 carriers in those two states. I got into insurance just because I was super passionate about protecting people. I come from a family that works really, really hard for the things that they have, but they didn't always know how to protect the things that they had. So it was just important. I gravitated towards insurance because my mom, she worked at Anthem, excuse me, and she did Medicaid growing up. So it was something that I kind of got into it at Geico, and then got into it as an insurance broker here over at Goosehead.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask you because, I mean, as we all have different walks of life that gets us somewhat ingrained into the real estate aspect within the transaction. So, what exactly is your role when it comes to the real estate transaction? Where can you help consumers, clients in the insurance field for what you do?
In the real estate transaction, my biggest role is just offering the realtor and the client, and everyone really involved in the transaction, just giving you guys a peace of mind. From the standpoint of insurance, is the thing that people think about the least, but you need it to close on a home. So there's no home really that I can't really write insurance for. If your home's on the water, if your home has had previous claims, any home that you have that you're purchasing the biggest investment of your life, I'll be able to write the insurance for and make sure that you're protected so you can get to closing.
That's awesome. And because, me being the real estate professional, working with clients day in and day out, I mean, the insurance piece is vital because it's one that's important to have right before you close. And when your client, well, especially me, clients ask me questions about it as far as
Hmm.
exactly why we need it right before closing it. It's important that not only am I aware, but we're working with somebody in the field who actually understands the process and can explain to them all the benefits that come with it. So that insight
Yeah,
is pretty good.
I would also say from a realtor standpoint, um, I could help smooth out add to you guys' process because a lot of you guys are already have a flawless process. Um, but if you give me the name of the first and last name of the client and the date of birth, I can give you a quote where you have it in your back pocket. So it's just a very seamless process, and your client doesn't really have to wait. So you'll be all squared away.
That's cool. And let me ask you, with your systems now, how long does that take if someone were to, give you that information? How long does that process take to get a quote?
It takes anywhere between ten to 20 minutes. It just really depends on the underwriting that we have to do. But once I start the process, 10 to 20 minutes, and usually just got to reach out to the client if I need a little bit more information. But um, I just usually have to verify if they have dogs, swimming pools, or if they're at a trampoline.
Awesome, awesome. Now, and I'm sure you have a lot of stories. I mean, what are some interesting stories that you've had? Whether it be with actually the beginning process of working with a client who's asking about insurance needs when they're purchasing a home. What are some stories that you have, or at least one that you could share that can kind of put some people on ease about going through the process?
I would say one of the biggest stories that I had, I recently, a loan officer really recently sent me a client, it's about 2 weeks ago, and she was paying $1,900 in rent. So her boyfriend convinced her that they actually should be living in a, like, should be going for a home. So they're moving through the process, and she'd been getting so many emails. Um, so the first thing I did was I just asked her, hey, what's your preferred level of communication? What's your preferred form? She said text. So we started to text, and I can see her mind go at ease from that. And as I was getting the information, I could tell that she really it was her first home, so she didn't really know that she didn't have to pay until closing. Um, so as I was giving her all these big numbers, I could feel like her stress just rising, right?
Mm.
And she's thinking like, "Hey, it's easier to rent." Like
Yeah.
with all this money that they're putting is easy to rent. I already owe all this money at closing. But when I started to explain the coverages, I said, I'm gonna walk through everything line by line with you, and then I'm gonna give you an annual and the monthly price on how much it's gonna be. And once I really broke it down to her, you can tell that she realized that the value that we were offering and the value that she was getting for what she was actually gonna pay a month, it was unmatched. And she was happy. She actually ended up texting the loan officer and telling him I got her squared away, and she sent me 3 referrals. So we had a very good month.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Great story. I wanted to ask you. So, outside of some of your traditional products that you use, are there any specific policies you've been seeing now in today's market, in today's climate, or that you have been getting now around this time of year that's usually not normal at all, or is it pretty standard?
Um, I would say this is always changing. So it's not necessarily anything that's pretty standard, but I would say that a lot of carriers right now really care about the age of the roof. They really want it to be within that 7-year time frame, and that wasn't always a thing when I first got into insurance, especially in the Hampton Roads area. So the biggest thing I would say is just let's just start making sure that we know that age of the roof, because it's not that I can't write the policy. It's just more so making sure I put the client with the right carrier so they have a seamless process. If we need to make sure we give them a little bit more time to get that inspection waived, I can do that. If they need to have a roof replaced, I can give them time to do that. And we also partner with a great restoration company, to make sure that everything is done as well.
Oh wow! So the roofs are extremely important to know because I
Yeah.
know there are questions that you're going to ask. Once you
Mhm.
reach out or the client reaches out to you, and of course, one is the roof. What are some other questions that you typically look for before seeing if someone can qualify for that policy?
Another thing is going to be dogs. Um, we're looking for specific breeds. Again, dogs, I know anybody that's a dog lover, they're like, my dog is harmless, right? and I'm a dog lover as well, so I do believe that everyone's dog is harmless. But insurance companies look at the dog based on the how much damage can be done if the dog was to bite someone else. How much would the insurance, how much would the insurance pay out? So we asked about different breeds like pit bulls, German shepherds, and if you have those breeds, there are carriers where we can get an exclusion built into the policy to where if you sign a dog exclusion that you're okay. Or we can get you with a carrier that doesn't really care about any dogs that you have. So that's another question. And then swimming pools. In ground, they're fine, but a lot of insurance companies are really cracking down on that diving board.
Hmm. Wow, the diving board. Didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's real interesting. Now, I mean, being here in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, I'm sure the question, not even the question, the thing that you usually have to look out for is flood zones, right?
Yep.
We're
Yeah.
surrounded by water, and it's extremely important that you verify that if the property does require flood insurance outside of the traditional home insurance.
Yeah.
Um, are there any specific things that are coming down the pike, or things that you see in those areas where flood insurance is required that you're willing to share, or anything at all?
Yeah. So flood insurance, flood zone determinations, I think it's always best that you check with your insurance broker to make sure that your home is not in a flood zone determination. Your loan officer could very well be using an old map where, now your home is or is not in a flood zone, and per their map, they might not know. So it's always best to get two or three opinions on if it is. And if it is in a flood zone, then we can always write a policy, build everything to the mortgage, and you'll be good to go. Flood policies are usually not expensive. The second thing is if you're purchasing a home and the home already has a flood policy, make sure that you give your insurance broker that flood policy, because the insurance broker can actually use that active flood policy to give you a large deduction on a new flood policy because it's the home has never went without insurance. Um, so yeah,
Hmm. Wow, that's good information right there. Because, I mean, as you know, it's something that I'm sure it comes up pretty much on a daily for you, and as it does for
yeah,
me when
yeah,
clients are asking whether I have references for different insurance brokers or anyone that they recommend reaching out to. It's a common
yeah,
question in those areas, and not
yeah,
to mention, it's an additional investment that they weren't probably thinking about originally, right? So they saw a
absolutely,
home that they loved, but
yeah,
they realize, okay, yeah, we're going to have to pay insurance, but it's flood insurance required, and it can change,
right,
their monthly payments in some degree. So yeah,
yeah,
that's extremely important to know.
yeah,
And I'm not sure how involved you are in this process, but the claims process, I'm not sure
yeah.
if claims, yeah, if claims happen to be placed out, you're getting calls, or maybe the company's getting calls about a specific claim. How does that process work with your company, with Goosehead?
So, um, our specific agency, the torture agency, we have a unique way of handling the claims process. And I would go on record to say I don't think anyone is doing it this way right now, but we actually have partnered with a company called Service Master. So Service Master is a gentleman named David Carr, who he works with our agency. We'll give him a call. He comes out to the client's house and he does an inspection. He's going to do the inspection. He's going to write up an estimate for the client, and he's going to coach that client on how to submit the claim to make sure the proper coverages and everything is being used. So they're not, you know, so they're not using the wrong coverage to pay out for their claim. So what it does is just offers the customer a peace of mind, like they're not in it alone when they've paid for insurance, and at the time that we're supposed to be there for them, we can still really be there. So even though we don't really handle the claim side in my office, we really coach our customers on how to make sure that it gets handled correctly.
Wow, that's amazing. And of course, it's never a situation where you anticipate, or want to be in a position where you have to file a claim. But when
Yeah,
they do occur, it's always great that whatever
Yeah,
company that you're with, the insurance agency has a smooth process. So
yeah,
that's really good to know about how you all go about processing some of those. So that's exciting.
yeah, yeah.
I want to talk a little about technology. So as we continue to see changes through AI and other things down the pike, wanted to get your opinion on how has technology changed in the insurance field? Has that changed at all? Has it impacted how you do business at all?
Yeah, yeah. Technology definitely has technology from a telematic standpoint. I would almost compare it to a credit score.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Okay.
Like like so there's so many factors that go into like you having an insurance score. In telematics, AI is just one of those things that is now used in order to generate it. It's really looking at your driving habits, right? It's looking at how many hard stops you use from the auto end. It's looking at the frequency that you use to submit claims for home and auto, right?
Mm.
Um, and that's why our claims process is so important because what if you submitted a claim but you've never had any payouts, but over the course of 3 to 4 years, you submitted 4 claims, even though there was no payouts, that's still sticking with you, right? So we have the ability to tell the client, hey, maybe you should submit this claim, or maybe this is not the claim that you submit, and we'll get it fixed this way, right? Offering other options. I think with us being in the time that we are in the United States, um, where things are being so, I guess, how do I say it? Everything's being so closely monitored that I think insurance companies monitor everyone for underwriting purposes. So
Mm. Wow. Okay. Well, that's good news. I mean, good news to hear because we're all evolving within the
yeah,
industry and in our own industries where we're starting to see changes occur a lot more frequently than we're normally seeing, right? So for real estate changes, whether it be from laws to contracts, they're changing, almost at this point every other month to some degree, and wanting to stay informed and informing yourself as well as your clients, put them in the
yeah,
best position. So I'm sure you're having those same similar changes. So that's good to know.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Perfect, perfect. Wanna kind of get to know you a little bit more. You've been asking a lot of questions, so we do appreciate that in reference
No,
to
it's
the
all good,
insurance.
man. I'm happy to be here.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to have you. Wanted to get some rapid fire questions so people can kind of get to know who Dominic is, and if they decide to work with you, they can get more of a personality with you. So I'm not gonna ask any violating questions, but first question: what's your favorite food?
Spaghetti all day long. Eat every week.
Oh, okay. Baked spaghetti.
No, no baked spaghetti, man. I can't wait that long. I got a 30-minute time limit.
Ah, I get you. I get you. I get you. I understand. I get you. Get you. All right. Favorite book, if you had to choose one.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So it's a story behind it. I'll keep it short, but I I originally started reading it when I was like 21 and I couldn't get through it. And when I was 24, I actually got through it. Um, and just starting with being proactive in everything I approach has helped me develop some of the other skills. I don't have all of the 7 skills, but I do believe that I practice 4 of them really strong. I'm working on the other 3. So it's a good measure for me. And I like that the book kind of gave me that guidance.
Okay. And the title one more time.
7 Habits of highly effective people.
Wow, that's a good one. I'm not sure. I think I may have heard of it before. Not sure if I have it in my collection at all. I might have to check that out. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you probably got all 7 habits, man. You a different
Oh man,
breed, you know?
we continue evolving. We adapting, we evolving, and we're gonna keep on growing for sure. Favorite movie?
Ooh, that's
It's a
tough.
tough one for me. Yeah.
Loving basketball. I love Sinai Lathan.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
It's my
yeah.
fan. Okay. Okay. Wasn't expecting that one, but that's a good one. It's a very good story. Favorite artist or song, musical?
Um, so my favorite song has to be "Picture Me Rolling" by Tupac.
Mm. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's my
That's a
go-to
good one.
song. I probably listen to that weekly. So
Okay, okay. So is Pac like your favorite artist too? If you had to say one?
yeah, I would say Pac is my favorite artist. I love Pac.
Oh, okay. I like that one. That's a good one. Okay. And then like what's some of your hobbies? What are some things you like to do outside of work when you helping clients? What are some things you do to ease your mind from the days?
Honestly, like I was telling you when we first talked, I'm getting into cooking. My Fridays are really spent by trying to figure out how to perfect my ribeye or my New York strip. So I love
Yeah,
making a good
okay.
steak. um, I love looking at shoes and shopping for shoes. I love reading. I as I'm getting older, I'm finding value in spending time with family. And it's not that I didn't always have that value, but actually spending time and learning how to connect with them is something that I've been trying to be very adamant about. So I love spending time with family, whether it's watching a movie, talking on the phone, going for a walk, just spending time with my family, um, and lifting weights. I lift weights pretty much every morning, Monday through Friday, um, and I do body weight stuff Saturday and Sunday. So
That's amazing. And those are actually some really good hobbies to have. I mean,
mm,
because you are essentially what I like to say, you're elevating on a lot of different phases of your life. So you
yeah,
mentioned books, you mentioned working out, you mentioned family. Those are some pillars that that are good to have and continuously build on to not only have a healthy life but a sustainable and happy life. So that's amazing. That's good to hear. Let's see what we got here. Travel destinations. I'm not sure if you travel much. Is there a specific place that you love to go to, in state, out of state, in country, out of country at all?
so I'm not as well traveled as I would like to be. And I'm working on that. So I'm struggling to take time off. But I would say in state, the one of the I really like Richmond. Richmond is very similar to Indianapolis, which is where I spent a lot of time. I lived in Indianapolis from 13 to like 24. So Richmond is very similar. But I really, really like DC. And DC, PG County, that area, um, it's just much it's so much creativity in that area. So I like it there. I used to spend a lot of summers with my uncle, um, in PG County, and that's kind of where my love for the East Coast came from. So I love it up there as well.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay. Well, appreciate you sharing some of that, and I'm sure you have some similar people who have similar interests as you. So that's always good. Oh, actually, one more favorite actor or actress. I know you said Sanaa Lathan, but is
Yeah,
there any
yeah.
others that
So I like Michael B. Jordan, man. I think he's our generation's Denzel.
you? Okay.
Um, I really like what he's doing. I like what he's doing behind the scenes as far as um, from a producer standpoint, and the ideas that he brings to the screen. But I'm a big Creed fan as well, so it was
Mhm.
super cool for me to see like what he did with Creed. I love that third movie where he had his own franchise, um, and like Adonis Creed, I really like that character as well. So
Yeah, yeah. Michael B. Jordan, he's extremely talented, and I think you're right about that. He's definitely blazing his own trail and really
yeah.
killing it in all facets of the industry. So yeah, that's a really good one. Okay. Next question. I kind of want to switch the gears to the insurance piece as far as common pitfalls. So, what are some common pitfalls that you see clients fall into when deciding the specific insurance agency to work with, if any? Or how can
I
they
think
avoid making some of the mistakes from their choices with insurance agencies?
so. I think the pitfalls that clients have are when they really don't understand their coverages. So when they haven't really had a line by line walkthrough on their coverages, of what they need, and then also the deductibles. One of the biggest things is if you don't understand your deductible, if you're closing on your home, um, and say you close on your home in 2023, and um, maybe it was a DTI issue. Okay, well, the best practice is you want to make sure you're reaching out to your insurance broker and you're reviewing that policy as much as you possibly can, because God forbid you don't want anything to happen and you got a 5% wind deductible and you owe $10,000,
Hmm.
just to get something repaired. And I think that's something where um, I think it's I think it's a two-way street. I can't put that all on the clients. I think that's something that as insurance brokers we always got to make sure when we're writing a policy, we provide the customers with the next steps. Like, hey, all right, so we're going to get you in this home, but hey, we're probably going to switch you carriers maybe in a year. This is what it's going to look like. Do you got a plan? Do you really understand, what this is? And I think that's one of the pitfalls is, they think they're good because they got insurance, but then you can't use it.
Wow, that's really good. And kind of brings me to my next question, because sometimes you'll have things built into the contracts as a professional. Certain things, depending on the property, it may be beneficial, or a lot of times it's beneficial for a client to have a home insurance policy. I'm not home insurance. I'm sorry, home warranty policy.
Hmm.
Whether it be it's paid by the seller or even the buyer decides to get it on their own. Is
Hmm.
as you all typically work with home warranty companies if it's a specific repair and maybe they cover a certain portion? Do you all have much conversation with home warranty companies at all? No.
Yeah, we do. Uh, we we work with a home warranty company called Akusa. Um, so they've been our partners for over 4 years. And I don't see that partnership going anywhere because they're great. Maddie and Tina are fantastic. So yeah, we definitely work with them. Um, as far as situational on how everything is like kind of divvied up on what covers what depending on what the claim is. But we communicate with home warranty companies just to make sure everything gets done successfully for our client.
That's amazing. That's good to hear. Okay, so this has been great. I mean, and thank you once again for your time and actually answering some of the questions. I think it's going to be a great topic for people who probably not even thinking about insurance, whether they're getting ready to step into the home buying process, or maybe they're in the process now or they own a home and kind of have a policy and really don't know the benefits of it. So
Yeah.
this is really good to bring to the people. Want to talk about, we talked about a little bit when it comes to the technology, future of insurance. I'm sure you have a lot of meetings, watching a lot of videos, and I'm sure what are some things that you're seeing and down the pike in the future that can impact insurance as it relates to real estate?
Um, I would say the future of insurance is going to fluctuate like everything else. When you see homes go up for higher, so will insurance. Um, so when you see, listings go down lower, the price, then insurance will as well. Um, I have been in some meetings where we're going to pay a little bit closer attention to like HVACs. Um,
Okay.
so we'll see we'll see how that kind of impacts. I don't think it's necessarily going to have a negative impact. I just think it's going to be something that we want to start to build into the homeowners policy to make sure people are really protected. Because, the Hampton Roads, even though we have a lot of new development, a lot of people take care of their homes and they renovate them. So we have a lot of old homes here. And I think in the Hampton Roads area, you're going to see policies that are catered to the area to kind of make sure that the homes are protected, the old homes, and I think that's going to be good for us.
Hmm, that's amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Do you happen to work? I know we talked about the home ownership aspect of it, but do you also handle when it comes to renters insurance as well, or you pretty hands
Yeah.
on that if someone does ask? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how many claims you've been getting or working with renters insurance lately, but it's also another piece here in at least our area of Hampton Roads and continuously rising across the United
Yeah.
States, where people are a lot of times are turning into renters, and they have their own
Yeah.
reasons as to why. But when you see these rented insurance policies, they also have some similar some of the same difficulties that may be happening with processing it, or even getting
Hmm.
some of the things insured, because you have pets and then you have other aspects
Right.
of it. What
Yeah.
what are you seeing in the renter space when it comes to insurance? As you continue to get more people who are deciding to rent and purchase.
I think I think um I think property managers and owners are requiring a higher liability limit from customers.
I agree.
Um,
I believe it's.
it,
I believe it's. I mean, not. It might be minimum like 300,000, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yeah, it hasn't always been that way. So
Yeah.
I remember writing one. I'm like, man, the good thing is we still have A-list companies that we use to where I sold a renter's insurance policy last Friday for $11.
Mm,
$11 a month. So, and it had everything she needed. $300 in liability. She had $5,000 in medical payments. Everything else was just standard, and it was a great company. Um, I would say that's the biggest thing about reaching out to an insurance broker is that you have so many A-list companies that market to insurance brokers and don't spend their marketing dollars kind of marketing to the public, like some of the big name companies that there actually is a big savings opportunity, and you can kind of handle business as usual if you reach out and we can get you with a carrier that kind of fits your needs.
mm. I want to ask this question because I've seen it happen, not personally at all, but instances where someone's living in an apartment complex, for example,
Okay.
and there's a fire that happens, unfortunately, in the building, and it
Yeah.
affects more, of course, majority of that building. When it comes to you having your insurance policy, your renter's insurance policy, under a traditional insurance policy, in situations like fire, flood, things like that, do you typically see the actual client paying out of pocket in instances like that, or how does that work when there's a disaster that happens for someone who's a renter?
Um, Most of the time, flood is going to be sometimes flood falls under an exclusion. It really depends on like the proximate cause or the reason why everything happened, um, for how an insurance company is going to view it. If it's, I like to say, if it's man-made on why it happened, then most of the time the insurance company is going to pay out, and as long as the bill has been paid and there's no cancellation notice, then they should be fine. But if you have something where it might have just been kind of just due to like nature, where it may or may not be covered. Um, so it's that's a
Kind of
that's a
case by
tough
case
question to
scenario.
answer. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's a
makes
case
sense.
by case basis.
Okay, definitely understand that. Okay, well, now I just got a couple final thoughts. For real estate, okay, how can I say this? As we conclude within this, for real estate agents as well as consumers, when working with working with insurance agencies, what are some, I guess, some final thoughts or advice that you would give to kind of help ease some people's mind on both sides?
I would say for realtors, um, it's always good to have an insurance agent in your back pocket. Sometimes when you talk to realtors, they say, "Hey, I don't really handle that part in the process. My loan
Mhm.
officer handles them." Well, do you know how many do you do you know how many deals you could have had or could not have had, um, due to just like the price of insurance? So I would say you function with like a well-oiled machine if you got more than one opinion on a lot of things,
Mm,
right? Um, the loan officer might have this quote, but maybe you got a better one, So an insurance agent can always help provide that flood zone and terminations to give your clients a peace of mind. If you're looking at something by the water, and it's not in a flood zone, but the client's just like, but this is by the water. You can show them proof. Hey, it's not in a flood zone. You got nothing to worry about. Um, and that provides information is what pretty much what an insurance agent is and supposed to be. So just ask us away. And most of us are here to help. We're happy to help. We want to make sure everyone in the transaction is protected, including realtors.
That's cool. That's amazing to hear. Well, thank you for that information. I mean, this has been fun. We could pretty much go on forever. I mean, this is a great topic, but it also, be able to share information with someone who not only is highly knowledgeable in the field, but as you can see, passionate about it as well, and want to help as many people as possible. So, where can people find you at if they wanted to get in touch with you?
You can always reach out to me via cell, 757-578-1375. You can also follow me on Facebook, um, Domonique Hill. And you can reach out to me on Instagram as well. That's DOMO_Hill. Um, and also, they can reach out to you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's
You know
right.
how to get in touch with me.
That's right. I'll plug you right into it. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Okay. And then last but not least, I know you touched on advice for real estate agents and consumers. Do you have like a quote or something that you live by that kind of keeps you going each and every day?
Yeah. My pops used to always tell me like, um, always plan for always plan for the person you want to be 5 years from now. So you'll never lose focus, and that's something I've always lived by. My goal 5 years from now is to be able to write insurance in 25 states. So, again, being knowledgeable is something I really, really, really am passionate about. Protecting people and having a good brand is something I really, really, am passionate about. I want people to know that if you're working with Dominic Hill, that you're good to go, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that your hard earned belongings are protected.
That's amazing. I like that one. I really do like that one. Man, I tell you, if you hear this and you aren't inspired to give a call to Mr. Hill here, then something is wrong. He's, as you can see, very knowledgeable. It's going to work for you, as he will also work for all of us to ensure that you understanding of the policies and what you are getting. So once again, I want to thank you for coming on to the show, and
Thank you for having me, man.
hope
Thank you for
you
having me.
enjoyed it. Would love to have you back in the future. And this is another episode of Major Leaders. So thank you once again.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
It's Sunday morning. Let me stop. Look. I've been thinking about them diamonds, but I don't need. Can't speak my mind. I tell myself that 'cause they gon' leave. Oh man, don't feel. I love too hard. I love that girl. She love when I was bleed. Can't trust her soul. What I was taught on these unload creeps. Talking straps, I run and that still wind up getting smashed. Ain't gotta prove it. I'm weak and my pops taught me that. On God.